This video continues with Chapter 20. A new mission opens. Pierce must die! Exclamation marvel, starting with a tech explosion to create a robot waifu. Chapter 20. A new mission opens. Pierce must die! Exclamation. Turning off the phone, a gentle smile appeared on Locke's face. Gwen Stacy is a love wealth left to him by his predecessor. This is a surprise because he has always had a good impression of Gwen himself. Gwen is a typical Western beauty, blonde, blue-eyed, tall, sweet-looking, and is now at the age of youth and beauty. It goes well with the underage him. Definitely, the so-called match refers to the pure love aspect. As a transmigrator, Locke has not yet perverted to the point where he wants to reach out to underage girls. Although he is considered a minor now, it feels a bit funny to say this. But this is his real idea. What he can do and what he can't do, he has his own bottom line. Between him and Gwen, it is enough to maintain a sweet love. The time he has is that one day Gwen will grow up. Before Gwen grew up, Miss 2B was his best companion. The sound of water in the bathroom stopped. Nightblade, wrapped in a white towel as usual, came to Locke. Like a cat, snuggling in Locke's arms. Locke smiled and slipped his fingers between the silver-white hair, giving her a gentle massage. It looks like he's playing a cat. Young master, the task you explained to me has been completed. Yi-Ren said softly. So fast? It seems to be less than 10 minutes, right? I asked you to do it before taking a shower. Locke was shocked. The matter of the old man is his hatred, and it is impossible for him to give up until he sends the ultimate murderer to the West. It's just that in the past few days he has been busy with the super soldier serum, which has delayed the progress of the matter for a while. After you have successfully strengthened your body, this matter will naturally be put on the agenda again. So Locke lets Nightblade use his hacking skills to hack into SHIELD's repository to find everything about Hydra and Pierce, the old thief. This thing seems to be easy to say, but its difficulty is like climbing to the sky. You must know that the technological power of beautiful country has always been a global leader. Not to mention the technological power of SHIELD, which is the top level in this world. Wanting to hack into SHIELD's information base is simply impossible for ordinary people. But at this moment, Miss 2B quietly broke it in less than 10 minutes. And also filter out the information you want from the massive data. So, how could he not be shocked? It's just a trivial matter. It only took a minute to hack into SHIELD's information database. Most of the time is spent on massive queries, otherwise it can be faster. Nightblade said proudly. MS 2B, who has a self-learning function, is only making up for hacking techniques during this time. Up to now, even Locke's own skills are no match for her. However, Locke doesn't care about this. He specializes in surgery, and it is meaningless to compare hacking skills with a robot. Miss 2B is made by him, as long as you know this is enough. For him, the stronger Miss 2B is, the better it will be for him, and he can't ask for it. As expected of my good wife, she did a great job. Locke stroked Miss 2B's hair and praised her softly. Is there a reward for that? Miss 2B raised her head and looked at Locke with her bewildered eyes. Seeing this, Locke immediately smiled bitterly, shook his head and said, 10 minutes ago, the battle just ended. Do you want me to die young? Giggle, look, I scared you. I'm joking with you. The third rule of robotics is that the creator must not be put into danger. I know this very well. It's good to be clear. If happy things happen every day, they will become sparse and ordinary, and thus lose the essence of happiness. So keep it in moderation. My robot wife. Locke was dumbfounded. He never thought that such words would come out of his mouth. I never thought that my robot wife would become a life-threatening existence. This is simply off the mark. Sure enough, the drought died from the drought. The flood died from the flood, and now Locke is in the flood disaster period. List of young masters. Life is too short to have fun. Miss 2B said with a smile. Locke, don't be poor with me. Since the information has been collected, let's start the action. The target of this mission, Pierce. The result I want is very simple, that is, let him die. If anyone blocks, then kill without mercy. Locke said coldly. Received. Nightblade nodded with excitement on his face. The fighting consciousness engraved in her emotional center makes her have a strong desire to fight. That's why she always wanted to fight Locke. Because hand-to-hand combat, in her understanding, is also a kind of combat. Get up from Locke's arms and quickly put on the black battle suit. A two-handed épée and a one-handed long sword automatically floated behind her. Anti-gravity drones followed closely. At this moment, the Nightblade once again incarnates into a ruthless life-seeking witch. Sassy and beautiful. Master, are you participating this time? It can be controlled by hand. Nightblade smiled and looked at Locke and said. Locke was a little moved, but thinking of Gwen's text message, he shook his head. This time, it's up to you to handle it completely. I have to watch more martial arts movies at home. Is it a love martial arts movie? Giggle, young master, you are so funny. After all, the Nightblade directly put on his own unique blindfold. A pair of black demonic mechanical wings unfolded from her back, taking her into the sky. This is the anti-gravity flight device that Locke made for her. The data does not stop, the code word does not stop. Exclamation ask for a monthly ticket for flower evaluation, everyone. Chapter 21 Encountering Iron Man, Forced Shutdown J.A.R.V.I.S. Looking at the Nightblade that quickly disappeared into the sky, Locke was speechless. This robot wife is simply an old driver among the old drivers, driving at a very slow speed. How could oneself create such a terrifying fairy, sin? I looked at the time. It was 5 p.m. There are still 2 hours before he meets Gwen on an evening date. 2 hours is neither long nor short enough for Locke to do a lot of things. For example, take a hard look at an action movie. With the photographic reaction ability, it's time to make up for his fighting skills. On the other side, the Nightblade is still galloping at an altitude of 10,000 meters. The high altitude and low temperature unbearable for ordinary people is not a problem at all for the Nightblade of the biochemical robot. On her unique high-tech black eye patch, there is a flash of light. That was where the target was according to the intelligence she had intercepted. Pierce's location at the moment is near the SHIELD secret base. But it is not in the base of SHIELD. According to the young master's guess, it should be the secret base of the Hydra organization. As the sworn enemy of SHIELD, the Hydra organization dared to build a secret base near SHIELD. One can imagine how arrogant the old coin Pierce is. This also reflects on the side how far SHIELD has been penetrated today. The mouse is around, but blind to the point of imperceptibility, sad. Just as Nightblade focused on speeding towards Pierce's spot, suddenly, an alarm sounded in her ears. In order to maximize the combat effectiveness of E-Blade, Locke spent a lot of energy on E-Blade's body and carried out a transformation. First, she was equipped with a pair of anti-gravity black mechanical wings. With these wings, Nightblade's actions are not limited to land. The sky can also become her main battlefield, and she can easily break through the speed of sound. The top speed can reach the terrifying 10 times the speed of sound. At such a flight speed, even the most advanced F-22 fighter jets in the beautiful country can't beat it. In addition, he is also equipped with the most advanced radar detectors and a 720-degree surveillance system without dead ends on his body. It can also easily avoid attacks from all directions when E-Blade closes his eyes. The current Miss 2B has a combination of offense and defense, and her strength is far stronger than the original. Dangerous, an unknown flight object is approaching at high speed. Hearing the sound of the alarm ringing in his ear, Nightblade looked in one direction with no expression on his face. Suddenly, in her visual system, a small point was quickly enlarged. In an instant, a golden figure appeared in Yuren's eyes. Under the setting sun, the golden figure was particularly dazzling. However, there was a playful look on Yuren's face. Because this golden yellow figure that suddenly flew towards him at high speed was not a Gunter, Tony Stark, who else could it be? She didn't expect to meet a genius inventor who even the young master would praise at this time. But it was precisely because of Locke's praise that she became curious and competitive with Tony Stark. She really wanted to see how the steel battle suit created by this so-called genius inventor looks like. In the Mark III armor, Tony Stark was shocked. He had just returned from killing people in the Middle East, but he didn't expect to see a woman with wings on the way home, and at an altitude of 10,000 meters. He once suspected that he was dazzled, but it was confirmed again and again by his artificial intelligence J.A.R.V.I.S. When he told him it wasn't a hallucination, but that there really was a woman, he was completely stunned. It took him a long time to accept this fact unbelievably. But the facts can be accepted, but curiosity cannot be easily satisfied. Under the intense curiosity that almost exploded, he flew in the direction of the woman unexpectedly. In this way, there is a scene in front of you. Is this an angel or a devil? This woman is so strangely dressed. J.A.R.V.I.S, turn on the scan function. Okay, Mr. Stark. Scan starts. Ding, can't scan. There is a strong source of interference. Electronics are affected and can't operate. Warning, warning. Artificial intelligence systems are under attack. Unknown signals are invading. Forced connection. Rustling strong connection is successful. Issue a shutdown order. The AI system is shutting down. J.A.R.V.I.'s voice had a strong electric current sound, and in the end, it was impossible to hear what was said. But just don't listen. Tony Stark knows what's going on. His artificial intelligence system was hacked, and then it was forced to shut down. Tony Stark was stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. How is this possible? Fake. What the hell is going on? Reboot now, Tony Stark said with a look of horror. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe that such a thing would happen to him at all. And while he was still anxiously restarting his artificial intelligence system, the woman with wings had already come to him. At this moment, he's looking down at himself, like a supreme king. I don't know if it was because he was at an altitude of 10,000 meters, and he suddenly felt breathless. This sense of oppression is so terrifying. Chapter 22. Stop pretending to be coercive everywhere, or I&amp #039LL hit you every time I see you. Are you the so-called Iron Man? It seems like that. Young master's compliment to you is a bit too much. Yebla looked at Iron Man expressionlessly and shook his head. Tony Stark. Hearing Yuren's words in front of him, Tony Stark was stunned, completely confused about the situation. The strange woman in front of him seemed to know him, but he himself had no impression of this woman. Who is this woman? A big black question mark popped up in Tony Stark's mind, and he was baffled. You know me? Who are you? What do you want to do? Tony Stark really didn't know what the silver-haired woman with black blindfolds covered most of her face was going to do. It's a non-nutritious question again. The last person who asked me this question is already dead. Do you want to die? Yuren sneered. What do you want to do? I should ask you this. You locked me first and flew towards me at high speed. What do you want to do? Are you courting death? After all, Nightblade didn't have time to explain to Tony. He raised his hand and grabbed it, trying to grab Tony Stark's neck. Seeing this, Tony Stark's face was horrified, and he didn't let it go. Raise your hands. Palms facing the Nightblade are 2 palm cannons. With the reverse thrust of the palm gun, Tony Stark immediately retreated to a place dozens of meters away. And it seems that the huge amounts of palm cannon didn't even touch the Nightblade, but it was blocked by the invisible protective shield that suddenly appeared in front of the Nightblade. Nightblade, unscathed. After blasting back from Nightblade, Tony didn't run away directly. He seemed to be unconvinced, but instead launched an attack on the Night Blade again. From the shoulder position of the Mark III armor, several precisely positioned bullets flew out. When he rescued those refugee hostages in the Middle East just now, he relied on this precise strike to kill all the robbers who took the hostages. Under the analysis of his high-tech armor, he was able to quickly find the opponent's weakness, then accurately locate it, and kill him with one hit. But what he didn't expect was that this time he didn't succeed. Just when his bullet was about to hit the woman, another invisible barrier appeared in front of the woman. His bullet seemed to be stuck in the quagmire and stopped in front of the woman so strangely. Looking at the bullets in front of him, Eren had a disdainful expression on his face, raised his hand and lightly pinched one of them, and brought it in front of him. "Is this your strength? It's too weak." Eren shook his head in disdain. With a flick of the finger, the bullet flew out at high speed. Ding! With a crisp crash, the flying bullet hit Tony Stark's steel armor heavily. The terrifying force of the impact immediately knocked Tony upside down and flew out, and there was a deep pit at the impacted position, which was about to be penetrated. He had no doubts that the strange and terrifying woman in front of him might have been a little stronger. Then this bullet will appear in his body, but it will not simply stay on the surface of the steel armor. Horrified in his heart, a huge wave turned up, and an unprecedented crisis of life and death appeared in his heart. Cold sweat poured out, drenching his back. "Don't try to shoot at me again, or I'll really kill you. Remember, you are not worthy of the name of a technological genius. It belongs to my young master. Also, don't pretend to be compulsive everywhere, look bored, and hit you once every time you see me." Eren coldly dropped a sentence, and directly increased the speed of sound by 10 times, and disappeared from Tony Stark's face in an instant. Leaving Tony Stark alone in the wind. Tony Stark. "So, that woman beat me up because I like to pretend? WTF, who can tell me, who am I offending?" "Right, sir." The young master in the woman's mouth, "Who is it?" Question after question popped up in Tony Stark's mind, baffling him. Touching the position where his abdomen was almost penetrated, he took a deep breath. Although the steel armor was not penetrated, the deep pit still caused a lot of damage to him. A sharp pain came from the abdomen. It should have been completely purple. Looking at the direction the woman was leaving, Tony's eyes filled with fear. "That weird woman is so scary." The artificial intelligence system restarted successfully. "Mr. Stark, good evening." The voice of J.A.R.V.I.S. finally sounded again. "I'm not good at all. Detected a wound on your abdomen. Identification, bruise. Got it. Go back. By the way, pull out the automatic surveillance video of the battle armor." "Mr. Stark, the surveillance video was forcibly turned off at the beginning, and we didn't record anything. Have you been prepared or underestimate her? Who is this guy?" "Well, I'll always find out." Tony gritted his teeth and shook his head, then turned into a long rainbow and flew towards his seaside villa with extreme speed. Chapter 23. Participate in the big event successfully, and get 20 points for nothing. At this moment, not only Tony Stark is confused, but Locke, who is watching the action movie, is also confused. Because just now, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Congratulations to the host for successfully participating in the Marvel event, the Middle East Peace event, the Road Encounter Iron Man, the Forced King who rushed back from the Middle East and cleaned up and learned a lesson. Reward points 20 points. What the hell? The Middle East turmoil incident? You also cleaned up and taught Iron Man a lesson? I'm so special, I've been watching movies at home. Locke looked shocked, and then he seemed to think of something. My second Austrian, shouldn't it be the urine? Didn't she let her assassinate Pierce? Why did you go to Iron Man instead and beat someone else for no reason? Locke's head was big for a while, but he was very happy in his heart. He picked up 20 points for nothing. Don't give up. Moreover, These 20 points also made him understand that the so-called participation in major events does not necessarily have to be personally involved. Participation by your own robot wife or subordinates is also counted as participation, and you can also lock points. This is very good news. It shows that the handoff shopkeeper he has always wanted to do is feasible. Don't do it yourself. Send your own little brother to take action, a proper behind-the-scenes boss. One word, cool. Exclamation, what the hell did this naughty robot wife do? Call the surveillance camera and see. Locke said and pressed the device in his hand. All of a sudden, what happened to Ye-Blade just now was played out in front of Locke from Ye-Blade's perspective. A few minutes later, with a wry smile on his face, the woman went to try Tony Stark's depth just because of her unintentional compliment. But he also knew that it wasn't Tony Stark that Nightblade was looking for. All this is really a coincidence. The two will meet at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Tony Stark even took the initiative to attack the Nightblade. To be honest, Locke was sweating for Tony Stark. He just didn't know what to do. Although Tony Stark has the reputation of being a god in the future with a mortal body. But that is in the future, and now he is definitely not Ye-Blade's opponent. The technological content of his steel armor is much lower than that of the biochemical robot Nightblade. Nightblade was easy enough to finish off Iron Man, and she did. To Locke's relief though, Nightblade didn't really kill Tony Stark. Otherwise, the timeline of this world will probably change. In this way, it will also have a significant impact on his collection of system points in the future. This was not what he expected to see. However, it is harmless to clean up and teach the king to force the king. At this moment, Tony Stark is afraid that he has doubted his life. Interesting. Locke shook his head and smiled bitterly, acquiescing to Ye-Blade's actions. Who made her his robot wife? Be naughty, it's normal. I turned off the surveillance video and checked the time. It was past 6 o'clock. It was time for the evening appointment. And just after more than an hour of observation and study, his fighting level has skyrocketed at an unimaginable speed. This feeling is like Neo, the protagonist of The Matrix. Just watching kung fu movies gave him a powerful fighting ability quickly. This is the case with Locke now, even more perverted. After all, his physical strength is much stronger than Neo of The Matrix. Now, even if he encounters the Hulk or hates, he can play with them well. This group is so powerful that they are not afraid of everything. It's so good. Locke squeezed his fist, thinking about it. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror, I put on my new black sportswear and white sneakers. Carrying a Swiss watch worth millions. I took a look in the mirror. The sunshine is handsome, and it is not too weak. This is what a young man looks like. If you just look at his appearance, he doesn't look like a 14-year-old boy at all, but a handsome and promising young man. But in fact, he's a boy. Exclamation, still underage. Put a fake driver's license on the table in your pocket, just in case you need it. After that, Locke went directly to the underground parking garage. Thousands of square meters of underground parking garages are full of dozens of expensive sports cars. Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, Bugatti, Pagani, Koenigsegg, etc. Too many to count. This sports car worth millions and tens of millions is the dream of ordinary people for a lifetime. But here are everywhere, and these are all toys that Locke once bought back. Because he is still underage, he cannot drive. The reason why I buy a car is just to buy it and keep it at home. In the words of the predecessor, it looks cool. But now it's cheaper than Locke, and he won't just look at it. The fake driver's license was directly brought up, and with his current image, no one would doubt him. Even if they were found out, with the energy of their Rockefeller family, who would dare to embarrass him? To be rich and powerful is to be willful. Exclamation, order soldiers and generals, whichever you get, is whichever you get. Locke muttered to himself, moving his fingers among the pile of car keys, and finally stopped on the Koenigsegg 1-1. Today's car is yours. Locke smiled calmly, picked up the key, and sat in the car. The roaring motor sounded like a beast roaring wildly. With a kick of the accelerator, the Koenigsegg 11 galloped out and quickly drove out of the manor. The data is handed over to you, and more to me. Trouble. Chapter 24. Did you come to the fake Marvel world, and DC Ca2man also came to do something? On the roof of the manor, the housekeeper Lao Mo quietly looked at the distant Locke with a smile on his face. Master, our young master has really grown up and started to be lawless. You don't have to worry anymore. In this world, no one can hurt the young master again. I will continue to help the young master well. Our eldest young master of Rockefeller, it is time to step on the stage of this world. Ruth, it's time for our people to come out for activities. Lao Mo said with a smile. Lao Mo, is there really no problem with this? The young master is still young, only 14 years old. A woman standing beside Lao Mo worried. If Locke was here at this moment, he would know that this woman was one of the maids of the manor. Small? Do you think he is small? The sound from the young master's room last night was louder than yours. Lao Mo said with a wry smile, looking at the woman beside him. I hate it. What are you talking about? Don't be ashamed. The woman blushed and gave Lao Mo a light touch. Young master is right. You old fox just loves to pretend. Hey, people are in the rivers and lakes. You can't help yourself. You can't do it without pretending. After all, the young master was still young. If I disrespected the old man, I would teach bad children, and the master would not be happy. But now that I have been dismantled by the young master, I'm relieved, and I will not pretend to be in the future. By the way, the young master is going on a date. There is no one at home. How about us? Lao Mo smiled, revealing his big white teeth, as obscene as he wanted. If Locke is here at this moment, it is estimated that the dead old man will be directly hammered to death. This guy will simply perform the old disrespect to the extreme. Go away, in broad daylight. What are you thinking? If other sisters find out, will I still be a human being? Ruth pinched Lao Mo hard and said, What kind of people are you? It's better to be a pair of mandarin ducks playing in the water and be happy. Besides, if they dare to talk about the old man will clean up together. Lao Mo said very domineeringly. Chi, your old bones are going to die. You want to die. Ruth rolled her eyes at Lao Mo, then turned and left. Looking at Ruth's writhing waist, the half-old MILF, Lao Mo smiled and followed. In New York, the flow of people in Times Square is extremely terrifying, and it is the rush hour after get off work. Locke was choking on the time for a date, but it didn't count until the rush hour. No accident was blocked in the central street, crying without tears. What can Koenigsegg 11 do? In front of countless workers, only the blocked ones can move forward. It's still a worker's cowhide. Exclamation. Seeing that the date is getting closer and closer, Locke has the urge to trade the Koenigsegg 11 for a motorcycle. Just like in the movie Mermaid, it's okay to trade a sports car worth tens of millions for a motorcycle. However, he himself is worse than the protagonist of The Mermaid, and the protagonist at least met a deliveryman. He is good, because the Koenigsegg 11 is too expensive. The surrounding cars and motorcycles are all far away from him, as if they get too close, they will automatically hit them and be compensated for millions. Millions! That is the pursuit of ordinary people's life. If I accidentally scratched the Koenigsegg 11, I would vomit blood and die. However, in this world, not everyone is seedless, and there are always some pretentious guys who will suddenly appear. At this moment, there was a pouting female rider, driving his pure black Harley-Davidson coaxedly, and parked beside Locke. The female rider wearing a black helmet looked at the Koenigsegg 11 beside her. Then there was a knock on Locke's window. Looking at the woman who suddenly knocked on the car window, Locke was stunned and rolled down the car window. Hey, hello, nice car, but your tire has a nail in it, and if I were you, I'd stop. The beautiful voice of the female rider came, because with the hat, Locke could only see her sexy and warm red lips. Even so, it was enough to provoke Locke's young and restless body. "Thank you." Locke nodded with a smile, looked at the woman, and then seemed to think of something. Looking at the watch, the minute hand has already pointed to 10, which is 10 minutes away from the appointment time of 7 o'clock. As the first official date he crossed over, he didn't want to make a bad impression on Gwen. So, he opened the door and walked directly to the front of the female rider. Seeing Locke, who got off the car suddenly, the female rider looked surprised. Because he found that the man who came down was so tall and handsome, his handsomeness far exceeded her imagination. Growing up so big, she has seen countless handsome guys, but the one that can make her amazed at a glance is only the one in front of her. Walking in front of the female rider, Locke stretched out his palm towards her very gentlemanly. "Hello, although it's a bit abrupt, but because I'm in a hurry, I want to exchange my car with you, okay?" Locke looked at his watch and said anxiously. The woman was stunned and looked at Locke in disbelief. "Exchange my hundreds of thousands of J.A.R.V.I.S with a Koenigsegg 1 worth tens of millions of USD. Are you serious?" "Definitely, time is running out, please help." Hearing Locke's words, the woman smiled wryly and shook her head. She used a sports car worth tens of millions of USD for her own motorcycle, and even used the word please. How rich is this to say such a thing? If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. But she's not the kind of person who takes advantage of others, and she just happens to be not short of money. "It's okay to exchange. Just give it to you directly, you owe me a favor." As the woman spoke, she took off her motorcycle cap. Suddenly, a beautiful face appeared. Even Locke was surprised. "Good guy, Anne Hathaway?" Locke was shocked roar, because he found that the female rider in front of him looked too much like Anne Hathaway. It was simply carved out of a mold. "Are you Anne Hathaway?" Locke asked curiously. "Who is Anne Hathaway?" "My name is Selina Kyle." Hearing the woman's words, Locke was even more shocked. "Isn't this the name of Catwoman in the DC world? Hell, am I in a fake Marvel world? Is this actually a world where DC and Marvel coexist?" Chapter 25 Official War. "You too. It must be just a coincidence, right?" Locke couldn't help thinking. Looking at the watch, time is running out. "You seem surprised you know me?" Selina Kyle asked Locke curiously. Locke shook his head, smiled, and said, "Among my friends, there is no beauty like you." While talking, Locke took out a note and wrote down his phone number. "Hand it to Selina. Thank you for your help. My car will be handed over to you. Call me if anything happens." After all, Locke put on Selina's hat, kicked the accelerator, and rushed towards the destination. Looking at Locke, who disappeared quickly, Selina smiled, and a strange brilliance appeared in her beautiful eyes. "Looks like this guy is really in a hurry. He didn't even introduce himself. If it were another man, giggle. Interesting guy." After putting away Locke's phone, Selina went directly to the sports car and sat in unceremoniously. "A sports car worth tens of millions is not ordinary. It feels good." Selina smiled and looked at the decoration inside the car. "Well, what is this?" "A driver's license." Selina found a driver's license in the water glass box beside her. Curiosity opened, and suddenly, Locke's photo and fake personal information were exposed in front of her. Locke, 25 years old. Hee, it turns out to be a little brother. Selina smiled, knowing that she was 26 years old. So it is normal to call Locke the little brother. But if she knew that Locke's age was actually fake, he was only 14 years old, and she didn't know what kind of picture it would look like. Hunting in the strong wind, the silver hair of the night blade flutters in the wind, and it is valiant. "Is it here?" "It looks like it's already here." Urin, who was at an altitude of 10,000 meters, looked at his feet. Immediately, his line of sight quickly zoomed in, like an 8x mirror, and the scene under his feet was clearly seen by him. It was a commercial building, black and solemn. From the outside, it looked no different from the usual commercial buildings. And just 3 kilometers away is the secret base of Fort Johnson, which belongs to SHIELD. Two of the most conflicting forces in the Marvel world have set up bases in the same place. I have to say, this is ironic. Definitely, it's a satire on SHIELD. At this moment, in the building of the Hydra secret base, a middle-aged man with blonde hair was standing in front of the huge amounts of French windows with a cigar in his mouth, quietly watching the beautiful river view not far away. However, compared with the beautiful river scene, his face was extremely gloomy and ugly. This man is none other than the Minister of the World Security Council, Alexander Pierce. Have you found the murder? He spit out a cigarette ring, pursed his mouth, and squeezed a few words out of his teeth, a taste of gnashing his teeth. For now, not yet. The other party has not left any traces. We have no way to find out. Respectfully standing not far behind Pierce's subordinates, said chillingly, "This week, the news of Kim Ping's sudden killing has made their entire organization feel at ease. Almost half of the people have been transferred to track down the mastermind behind the killing of Jin Bing. But nothing was gained, and the minister in front of him had already lost his patience and had a great temper. The main reason why they are so nervous is that they suspect that this matter has a direct relationship with the Rockefeller family. Even for their Hydra organization, the Rockefellers were a terrifying behemoth. To fight against them, they have to work hard. A bunch of trash. What's the difference between you and Jin Bing?" He raised his head and sighed heavily, his eyes full of haze. Even he himself did not expect that the development of things would turn out like this. His original intention was just to get the super soldier serum formula left over from World War II. With this recipe, he can turn his Hydra organization into the most feared power in the world. Imagine, when all the members of the Hydra organization have power far beyond ordinary people in this world who can stop their ambition to dominate the world. However, in the implementation of this plan, there were too many accidents. The murderer who was sent to assassinate Mr. Rockefeller did not die, but was caught by the police. This is far from a big general, and the result is like from that moment on, the nightmare started. Up to now, the development of things is completely out of his control, to the point where there is no way to go back. At the beginning, if Jin and that guy were more reliable, they wouldn't fall into such a passive state. In fact, even if there were no clues, he had already guessed that this was definitely done by the Rockefeller family. It was because of this certainty that he was so nervous. After all, standing on their opposite side is the Rockefeller family. Damn Jin Bing, I really want to burn my ashes. He clenched his fist tightly. The cigar in his hand was broken, and it fell heavily on the floor-to-ceiling window in front of him. If the murderer who assassinated the old man had died as he planned, there would never have been such a mess. After all, there is no proof of death. There is no way to check. But now, it's a big trouble. We can't wait any longer, since the other party has already started. We don't need to be polite. That little brat and that old rascal must die so we can sleep soundly, Pierce said coldly. Is the war officially launched? We know. The subordinate nodded silently. But just as his voice fell, the floor-to-ceiling window in front of Pierce suddenly shattered. At the same time, a black figure appeared in front of Pierce and grabbed Pierce's neck with one hand. Official war. You guys deserve it too. The icy voice was like a sharp blade, piercing the hearts of everyone present. Chapter 26. A one-sided massacre has begun. The sudden scene shocked everyone, but they didn't wait for them to react. The bulletproof glass shards that were smashed at high speed turned into sharp knives that killed people. In an instant, several unlucky ghosts were penetrated by the broken glass fragments. He fell to the ground spitting out blood, dying. A few lucky guys also slumped on the ground with frightened legs. There should have been Pierce among them, but at the moment Pierce was being held by a woman with short silver hair. This woman is none other than the Night Blade that Locke sent to carry out the assassination mission, Miss 2B. Those cold and extremely overbearing words naturally came from her mouth. You, who are you? Being strangled by Miss 2B's neck, Pierce's face turned purple, and he raised his biggest question at the moment with a look of horror and pain. He couldn't figure it out. A second ago, he was discussing the assassination of the Rockefeller family's young master and the old butler with his group of trash men. How can your neck be handed over to someone else in the next second? How can that be? How did this woman do it? He was baffled. You must know that the floor-to-ceiling window in front of him is bulletproof glass, and the manufacturer claims that shells can't get in. But now it was actually smashed by a woman with her body. This is simply outrageous. Home. Where to buy inferior products? Those bastards in the purchasing department must be getting rebates. If I can survive this time, I'm going to kill you all. Pierce thought frantically in his heart. He knew that Miss 2B in front of her swooped down at 10 times the speed of sound from an altitude of 10,000 meters. Such a high height, coupled with such a terrifying speed, let alone a bulletproof glass. Even a bunker can collapse in an instant. Definitely, the person who launched this terrorist attack will naturally fall apart. But Miss 2B stood in front of Pierce unharmed at the moment. The reason for this is naturally related to the high-tech equipment on her body. The reason why Miss 2B can do this is because of the phase shift energy barrier that Locke installed on her. This is a pure energy barrier with extremely terrifying strength. As long as the energy supply is sufficient, there is no upper limit in theory. His defense ability depends on how much energy he has. And if the energy on Miss 2B is turned on when overloaded, the highest defense ability can block the next nuclear bomb explosion. This shows how terrifying this energy barrier is. It is precisely because of this that Miss 2B can stand in front of Pierce safe and sound at this moment. Compared to a nuclear explosion, breaking a bulletproof glass is a piece of cake. Who am I? Haven't you been looking for me? Miss 2B said sarcastically, looking at Pierce in front of him with disdain. He also thought how powerful the so-called man behind the scenes was. Now it seems that the ultimate behind-the-scenes person in front of me is not even as good as the original Jin. The physical strength is really too bad. It is simply a battle of 5 scum. Such a guy, in normal times, is not worthy of her shot at all. But now, he must die. Hearing Miss 2B's words, Pierce's face was full of horror. He never thought that the murder he had been investigating would actually come to the door. He was just investigating this guy, but he didn't say that he would come to the door for beheading services. His legs were weak, cold sweat poured out, and his heart was ashes. It is the best and most appropriate adjective to describe him at the moment. However, it is naturally impossible for him to directly admit his crime, and he also knows that it is useless to beg for mercy. Therefore, he wisely chose to deny it. Miss, you've got the wrong person. I don't even know what you're talking about, Pierce said, pretending to be innocent. But how could Miss 2B listen to his nonsense? There is no use in denying it. You must die today, not only you, but all of you here must die. With that said, the palm of Pierce's grip tightened. No, you can't kill me. I'm the Secretary of the World Security Council, Pierce struggled, screaming in desperation. Huh? I see. I'll notify them to warn you, Miss 2B said expressionlessly, and then twisted her hands violently. Pierce, who was still struggling, slumped like a dead old dog thrown to the ground by Miss 2B, seeing that their boss was so easily killed by the woman in front of him. A group of Hydra members who were lucky enough to survive rushed towards the door like crazy, trying to escape from the death palm of the 2B witch. But before they ran to the door, they were already shot by the laser from the anti-gravity drone suspended beside Miss 2B. Looking at the laser-cut Hydra members, Miss 2B had no expression on her face, as indifferent as a piece of ice. Because of her emotions, her tenderness, in this world, she will only be selflessly dedicated to her creator Locke. The rest of the people wait, especially the enemy, the turkey. After easily killing all the members in the room, Miss 2B did not stop there. Instead, he lifted his foot out of the room and walked towards the next room. A one-sided massacre has begun. Ask for some flowers, evaluation, monthly pass, grateful. Chapter 27 The Green Goblin is coming. Is Spider-Man still far away? New York, Central Park, is where Locke and Gwen agreed to meet. Riding a pure black Harley-Davidson is still very cool. There is a faint fragrance in the black motorcycle hat, which should be Selena's perfume. He is very interested in this woman because her appearance and name are exactly the same as Catwoman in the DC world. This had to make him suspect that the world he traveled through might not be the Marvel world he thought before. It is very likely that this world is a comprehensive world of beauty and comics. If that's the case, that would be too embarrassing. In the future, it will be more interesting. But whether it is as he guessed, this remains to be explored in the future. After all, he has only been here for more than a month. During this time, he has been engaged in his own scientific and technological research and did not seriously study the world. As for the memory of the predecessor, there is nothing about the DC world. Therefore, he will doubt at this moment if DC characters have appeared in this world he can directly confirm. Or, is there another possibility? Because of his appearance, the two worlds are connected. This seems a bit self-righteous. Guess, these are his guesses. Now, instead of thinking about it, his focus is on dating Gwen. Rock, riding a Harley-Davidson, stopped at a red light. I looked at my watch. There are still 5 minutes. It's okay. I won't be late. At this moment, a group of female cavalry regiments that appeared out of nowhere suddenly stopped beside him. All of a sudden, the chattering, yinging laughter, mixed with the roar of the locomotive, gave people a headache. Locke frowned, looking at the group of female riders around who were pouting, wearing heavy makeup and not wearing helmets, feeling inexplicably bored. Compared with Selena just now, these guys are like a day and a place. They are also female riders, so the quality level is too uneven. Harley-Davidson, such a cool car, handsome boy, are you interested in joining us for a drink in the evening? A decent-looking woman looked at Locke with a smile and said. The woman sitting behind the female rider seemed to be worried that Locke couldn't understand what they meant by drinking. Put your finger in your mouth, in and out. Locke was speechless, and the news of female riding that he heard in his previous life could not help but appear in his mind. Immediately, I just felt disgusting for a while, but I didn't expect this group of guys to be this kind of people. Turning his head and ignoring them, Locke looked at his watch. There are 3 minutes left until the appointment time. Seeing that Locke ignored them, the group of female riders became excited instead. Hey, it's quite personal, and I don't even care about us, but I want to touch you. After all, the woman who did the lewd action just now stepped down from the back seat and came to Locke's side with enchanting steps. Without Locke's consent, he stepped onto Locke's Harley-Davidson in one step, and took the initiative to climb where he shouldn't. Locke was disgusted in his heart, and was about to teach this woman who didn't know how to live or die. However, at this moment, a spherical pumpkin-like thing suddenly fell from the sky and rolled into the middle of a group of female riders. Looking at the strange thing that suddenly fell, a group of female riders looked curious, but did not respond. But at this time, Locke suddenly felt an unprecedented crisis. His body's muscles reacted instinctively, surpassing his own thoughts and reacting automatically. In an instant, he jumped high from the motorcycle, and the whole person turned over like a cheetah and burst out. Boom! Before the woman behind him felt incredible for Locke's sudden behavior. An earth-shattering explosion devoured her completely, and even a group of female riders around her were also devoured. The strange turquoise flame is like a ghost emerging from hell, making a strange chirping laugh. Anyone who is shrouded in this flame will turn into a mass of black carbon in an instant, turning into powder and dissipating with the wind. The terrifying explosion and the terrifying flame stunned everyone, screaming in horror, and those who had not been affected for the time being scattered. Locke's face was extremely ugly. As a technological genius, he knows very well how that turquoise flame exists. That is the change that occurs when the flame reaches a very high temperature, which can instantly vaporize substances with low ignition points. The group of female writers just now were vaporized by the terrifying flames generated by this round pumpkin bomb. And according to what he knew about the Marvel world, there was only one guy who used this rotten melon bomb. That is Green Goblin. As he expected, at this moment, a guy stepping on a glider and wearing a green evil armor let out a wicked laughter and galloped from the building complex in the distance. This person is not Green Goblin. Who else could it be? First ask for some data. I will continue to work hard. Chapter 28 Dangerous. Exclamation looking at Green Goblin who gave a JJ smile. There was an evil fire in Locke's eyes. Today is my first official date in this world, and my date with Miss 2B doesn't count. After all, Miss 2B is a robot wife created by herself, not a human being. They belong to a cross-species love and cannot be counted as a regular love. So don't count. It was his first date with Gwen, Locke thought. It's just that the date was interrupted by the guy in front of him before it even started. How can this be tolerated? In this way, you can imagine how violent the anger in Locke's heart is. Thinking of Gwen, Locke couldn't help but be surprised. The place they agreed on is near here, and the explosion just now was so loud, she must have heard it. If the explosion happened to Gwen, the consequences would be unimaginable, and he had to find Gwen quickly. After all, no one knows the purpose of Green Goblin. Not to mention the purpose, before that he hadn't heard the news that Green Goblin had appeared. Was the news deliberately blocked and not broadcast on TV? Or is he too quiet in the research of super serum this week? Don't you even know what's going on outside? If it's the latter, that's not a good thing. Before he even started to gain a firm foothold in this world, he was already derailed from the world. Say it, shame on it. According to the timeline speculation, Green Goblin has already appeared, so Spider-Man has also been born. At the moment when his idea appeared, a red and blue figure swayed from the building complex in the distance. It was none other than the Spider-Man that Locke was just guessing, Pete Parker. Looking at Green Goblin, and then at Spider-Man, Locke's face was extremely ugly. Because all this is different from the Marvel world in his impression. This is indeed the Marvel world, but it is not the Marvel world he is familiar with. He would not understand for a while, and he was too lazy to think about it. The most important thing now is to rush to Gwen's side. In this chaotic time, Gwen's side must need herself. He couldn't help feeling distressed at the thought of her sweet face full of terror. Your first love can't be wrong. At this point, Locke had no hesitation and was like a sensitive leopard rushing towards the old place he and Gwen said. At this time, Green Goblin stepped on the glider and was suspended in midair. Pete Parker, who was wearing a tight red and blue spider uniform, had his feet glued to the streetlights, making his signature Spider-Man move. Pete, I've always been very optimistic about you, but why are you against me? If the two of us join forces, the whole world will crawl under our feet. Stop fighting fearlessly. The world is no longer for us. We need to transform this world. We need to be kings of this world. Green Goblin looked at the Spider-Man opposite and said impassively with a demagogic tone. At the moment, he already knows the true identity of Spider-Man who has been sabotaging his good deeds. And it was because of this that he was even more angry. This damn high school student is his son's best friend. He has always admired him and even treated him as a godson. But it is such a guy who is valued by himself, who is against himself everywhere in the dark and destroys his good deeds. So, how could he swallow this bad breath? He swears that this is the last time he will win over Pete. If this ignorant high school student in front of him still doesn't agree to his request. Then he can only beat the killer and send him back to the West. Hearing Green Goblin's words, Pete Parker was heartbroken, as if he couldn't believe his best friend's father would become like this. He shook his head in pain, his voice hoarse. Mr. J.A.R.V.I.S, don't make mistakes again and again. Look back. As long as you stop doing evil, I will not interfere in your affairs. I'm best friends with Harry. Please don't push me, Pete Parker said with a pained expression. He never imagined that the criminal Green Goblin he had been fighting would be the father of his best friend Harry. Osborn. Even before he accepted this fact in his heart, Osborn forced himself to cooperate with him. However, how could he possibly agree to such a request, thinking of his Uncle Ben who died not long ago? There was a flash of determination in his eyes. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. This is the last motto left by my uncle. He has also kept this sentence in his heart, and it has become his life creed in this life. It is impossible to cooperate with Osborn, and sticking to the justice in his heart is also his bottom line. So, there's nothing to talk about between us. JJ, if that's the case, then I'll see how you stop me. Don't you want to protect this group of useless waste humans? I want to kill them. I see how you protect. Jai. Exclamation. After Green Goblin finished speaking, he took out a few huge amounts of blue melon bombs from the demon glider under his feet and threw them into the crowd below. Don't want. Seeing this, Spider-Man was horrified, and his body fluttered away, trying to block Green Goblin's blue melon bomb. But his fists were no match for four, and before he could stop the blue melon bomb from exploding, he was knocked out by Green Goblin's glider and smashed heavily on the glass wall of the high-rise building. The glass shattered, and Spider-Man flew in, looking extremely embarrassed. And those blue melon bombs that were thrown out began to explode one by one. One of them just rolled in front of a sweet-looking young girl who was looking terrified at the moment. This girl is none other than Locke's first love, Gwen, who came to the appointment. Chapter 29. Green Goblin, you are dead today. Looking at the blue melon bomb dropped in front of him, Gwen's reaction was the same as the group of female riders just now. There was curiosity and fear on his face, but his body was already so frightened that he couldn't move, and he didn't know what to do. At this moment, the first thing that came to her mind was the lover, Locke, who agreed to her appointment. But now, they are afraid that they will never meet. A strong crisis of life and death appeared in her heart, and despair appeared in her eyes involuntarily. Do not. Just then, a terrified roar shouted. She turned her head with a miserable smile, and saw a slightly familiar figure rushing towards him. It appeared in front of him in an instant at an unimaginable speed. Then he hugged her tightly and protected her under a broad, warm, and firm chest. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying explosion suddenly sounded, and a scorching heat wave struck fiercely. He immediately engulfed the figure in front of her. No, Locke. Gwen called roar in horror. Tears fell unconsciously, and she had already burst into tears, because this warm embrace that stood in front of her at the critical moment was the Locke she had been waiting for. She had seen the terrifying power of that bomb with her own eyes just now. Therefore, her expectations for the fate of the boy in front of her who were desperately protecting her were not very good. After all, in her heart, Locke was a little brother 2 years younger than herself. Although he is tall, he is still an ordinary person. How could he, who was a mortal body, stop that terrifying blue melon bomb? The pain in her heart like a knife made her cry into tears. But at this moment, a gentle voice rang in her ear. Gwen, are you okay? The person who spoke was Locke, who was tightly protecting her. You. Looking at the big boy in front of him who was still showing a gentle smile to him, Gwen looked incredulous. Is he all right? Are you still caring about yourself? You're all right. Gwen was overjoyed, stroking Locke's body with both hands, trying to confirm the authenticity of all this. It's not completely okay. The clothes on my back were burned. Locke smiled bitterly. It was so dangerous just now that he didn't have time to escape with Gwen at all. So he can only protect Gwen under his body, and use his body to block the power of the blue melon bomb to keep Gwen's safety. However, the result of this was that he had to use his body to resist the shockwave of the bomb and the burning of the terrifying flame. To be honest, he was skeptical about his body at first. After all, he didn't fully understand the body that had not been strengthened for a long time. He only had a hand-to-hand test with Miss 2B, and the result was only strong and durable. But the body's ability to fight against he has not tested. However, the current results have fully proved how terrifying the optimal solution enhanced super soldier serum he created is. After this strengthening, Locke's body strength is far beyond imagination. Copper skin and iron bones, as solid as a rock, are not enough to describe the toughness of his body. The terrifying impact and scorching flames produced by the explosion of the blue melon bomb did not cause him the slightest harm. After figuring out all this, Locke's face couldn't help showing a confident smile. He got up slowly and hugged the relatively petite Gwen in his arms. "It's not very safe here. I'll take you out of here quickly. I'm afraid our date will be changed." As Locke said, he held Gwen and ran quickly towards the safe area. It didn't take long for the two to be far from the battle of Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Looking at Locke in front of him, Gwen was full of thoughts and had countless questions in his heart. First of all, why did the boy in front of him suddenly grow so much taller? I don't know if it's because she has grown taller, so she looks a lot more mature and handsome, which makes her heart pounding and deer rushing around. Why is this guy getting more and more handsome? Gwen thought shyly. Second, how did he stop that terrifying explosion, or just burn the clothes on his back? This is simply incredible. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe it. Locke, Gwen stood quietly in front of Locke, with a strange brilliance in her beautiful eyes, and wanted to ask a question. But before she could speak, Locke's lips had been domineeringly printed on her mouth. But after just touching it, they quickly separated again. "It's great to see you're fine. I know you have a lot of questions, but now is not the time. I'll tell you later, just know that I love you. Now you stay here, don't go anywhere, I'll go back when I go." After making sure Gwen was fine, it was time for him to settle the bill with Green Goblin. If he was only 1 second slower just now, then he is now separated from Gwen. This revenge is inexorable, and he must avenge it. And he has always been vengeful, trying not to stay overnight. Exclamation now that Green Goblin is there to fight Spider-Man. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity not to be missed. After Gwen was arranged, Locke clenched his fists, and the terrifying power gathered momentum. "Green Goblin, you are dead today." Looking at Locke, who disappeared quickly, Gwen was still stunned. Her face was rosy and her heart was sweet. He just kissed himself and said, "I love you." Exclamation ah, so shy. This guy has gone bad. Gwen covered her face, her heart unstoppable. Chapter 30 Super Alloy Power Armor. Locke transformed. After leaving Gwen, Locke pressed indifferently on the special device in his hand. Suddenly, a mechanical electronic synthesis sound sounded far away in the underground laboratory of Rockefeller Manor. "The Super Alloy Power Armor is starting. The start is completed. The target positioning is completed, and the matching starts." With the sound of this electronic synthesis sound, a cylindrical barrel object with a length of 1 meter and a diameter of about 30 cm. Like a rocket launch, it rushed out of the underground laboratory at an astonishing speed and then galloped towards the location of Locke. This so-called Super Alloy Power Armor is a new armor developed by Locke, inspired by Iron Man's steel battle suit. When he was building this armor, he used his physical strength as an ordinary person as a template to make it. Therefore, a full coverage design was made and many functions had to be completed in combination with artificial intelligence, which was very troublesome. And it is precisely because of this build experience that he clearly understands the genius mind of this guy Tony Stark. In the absence of reference, I combined ergonomics and mechanical dynamics, as well as artificial intelligence, to create a steel battle suit, such a milestone-like invention, how awesome. In any world, it is much more difficult to create a precedent than to follow the trend later. Because Locke used his ordinary body as a template before, after he had strengthened his body, the suit of battle armor could not be used. Therefore, Locke asked the artificial intelligence to redesign it with his current body, and abandoned the previous full coverage design, changed to the mode of partial location strengthening. From the complicated to the simple, although the defense power and automation rate are reduced. However, combined with Locke's current physical strength, it has greatly improved the ease of use and high mobility of the armor. The current set of armor only retains some simple artificial intelligence modules, because the anti-gravity drone suspended around the armor is already smart enough. Yes, Locke also used Miss 2B's auxiliary robot on himself. In this way, the power of his hot weapon has been greatly enhanced. In this way, he can adapt to more complex combat scenarios. The roaring, tearing air sounds came from the distant sky, and when Locke heard the sound, a look of anticipation appeared on his face. This set of improved armor is the first time it has been released, and he has not used it himself. Today, it's time for the test, Locke thought silently in his heart. As he walked towards the place where Green Goblin and Spider-Man fought, Locke ripped off his disfigured shirt that had been burned. Immediately, streamlined muscles full of explosive power were revealed. At the same time, the superalloy power armor that was compressed into cannonballs fell from the sky, stretched out immediately, and turned into a human shape and automatically pierced into Locke's body extremely fast. The couple's high-tech eye mask with the same style as Miss 2B's head fell automatically, covering half of Locke's face, and a sense of mystery appeared. Beside him, the anti-gravity drone followed closely, automatically entering combat mode. Through the two current high-tech black eye masks, all the surrounding movements are invisible. In an instant, Locke saw Green Goblin and Spider-Man fighting on the top floor of the Empire State Building. With a cold face, Locke jumped, and his feet exploded with terrifying bouncing power. He jumped directly onto the Empire State Building and came to Green Goblin and Spider-Man. The sudden appearance of Locke naturally caught the attention of Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Looking at Locke, who was wearing a black mechanical armor with a black blindfold on his face. Both Green Goblin and Spider-Man had looks of surprise on their faces. "If you don't want to die, get away," Locke said coldly, looking at Pete Parker not far away. "Spider-Man, who are you?" Pete Parker asked curiously, looking at Locke. But Locke ignored Pete Parker's question and rushed straight to Green Goblin. The battle has already begun. Chapter 31. Even though it is riddled with holes, choose compassion. Seeing the strange man who suddenly appeared and rushed towards him without saying a word, a look of surprise appeared on Green Goblin's face. Although he has not yet fought against this strange guy in front of him, he has already felt an extremely strong murderous aura from the opponent. The man in front of him actually wanted to kill himself. He asked himself that he had never seen this man before, and it was even more impossible to have a grudge with him. Then why is this guy so murderous towards himself? Before he had time to think about it, Locke, who was wearing a black mechanical armor, had come to him at an extremely fast speed. Fists with black fingerless gloves came oncoming with terrifying tearing air sounds. Before the fist hit him, Roar's roaring fists shrouded him like a stormy sea, leaving him nowhere to hide. His pupils dilated instantly, his face horrified. Green Goblin raised his hands to block in front of him in a panic, trying to block Locke's punch. But, obviously, this is a pipe dream. The body after Locke's strengthening is enough to match the Hulk, or even stronger. If you have to apply Marvel's strength division, he and Miss 2B's strength have reached the level of J.A.R.V.I.S. At the peak level of the surface level, with such a terrifying strength, only the existences of the same level or higher can pose a threat to them. For example, Captain Marvel, Thor, Odin, Ancient One, and so on. In other words, at present, with their strength, they can temporarily dominate the Earth. However, the Marvel world has never been limited to the Earth, but also includes the vast universe. In the depths of the universe, all kinds of heaven-defying existences dormant there. Dark Lord Dormammu, Hell Lord Mephisto, Director of Planned Parenthood Thanos, Beholder, God Slayer Gore, and many more. Union strong, like the sea of stars of gravel, countless. These existences, if one comes to the world, it is a great threat. Therefore, Locke must not stop here. His pace is a wider sea of star maps. Closer to home. In an instant, Locke's usual punch slammed heavily on the arm that Green Goblin was blocking in front of him. Immediately, the arm collapsed like a man's arm blocking the car, and Locke's fist was like a meteor, breaking through Green Goblin's block and hitting him heavily. PFFT ... blood spurted wildly. Green Goblin smashed through the huge wall behind him like a cannonball that flew out and fell to the ground, unable to move. One punch, just one punch, destroys Green Goblin. Such a strength is astounding. Rao is a bit surprised by Locke himself, but he is not surprised by his own powerful strength. It's the accidental weakness of Green Goblin, Marvel's classic villain Green Goblin, that's all. So weak. Locke sneered, raised his legs, and walked towards Green Goblin, who was out of combat. Seeing Locke walking towards him, Green Goblin was shocked and his body couldn't stop shaking. He never thought that one day he would be enveloped in fear. He didn't even think that the strength of the guy in front of him was so terrifying. You must know that you are a Superman who has been injected with physical strengthening agents. It is no exaggeration to say that his own strength is capable of lifting 9 tons of heavy objects. But this strange man with a black blindfold in front of him knocked him off with one punch. So how far should his power be? He can't imagine it! He was bragging to Spider-Man just now, saying that together they could become the king of this world. But now it seems that he is simply an ignorant little cutie. With the existence of this man in front of him, it is absolutely impossible to be the king and hegemony. It is true that he is hanged and knocked down. With a cunning nature, he immediately saw the situation clearly, and without saying a word, knelt directly to Locke. Then he tore off his green mask, revealing the face of a middle-aged man. This person is the chairman of the Osborn Group, J.A.R.V.I.S. Osborn. At this moment, J.A.R.V.I.S. Osborn's face showed a pitiful expression of "I don't know anything, but my second personality." Looking at this disgusting expression, Locke did not feel the slightest pity in his heart. He's not Spider-Man Pete Parker, he has nothing to do with Green Goblin. If there is a relationship, it is the deep hatred that he almost killed Gwen. Therefore, Green Goblin has been given a kill order in his heart. Green Goblin, he must die today. Even if the heavenly King Lao Tzu comes, he cannot be saved. Locke thought of this. Killing intent surged in his eyes. But this time King Lao Tzu didn't come, but Spider-Man Pete Parker came. Pete Parker, who has spider telepathy, can clearly sense the terrible killing intent on Locke. The strange man who suddenly appeared in front of him wanted to kill J.A.R.V.I.S. And this is a picture he absolutely does not want to see. In any case, J.A.R.V.I.S. Osborn is the father of his close friend Harry Osborn. If J.A.R.V.I.S. Osborn died here, then his close friend Harry would have no father. Harry would be in so much pain. He didn't want to see Harry become an orphan, and he didn't want him to try the pain of losing a loved one like he did. Besides, it would be fine if he wasn't there, but he was there right now, and if he didn't stop this tragedy, he would be unhappy for the rest of his life. Thinking like this, his body had already started to move, and the cobweb in his hand shot towards Locke's feet, instantly imprisoning Locke. As if he knew Spider-Man would do this, Locke sneered. "Pete Parker, you're still hitting on me. Even if you have penetrated thousands of holes, do you still choose to be compassionate in your heart?" Very good, I admire it. However, I don't like it. The voice fell to the ground, the legs shook violently, and the cobweb cracked. Locke turned his head slowly, his eyes locked on Spider-Man. Chapter 32. If you win, you can live, but if you Don&amp #039T win, if he dies, you may die too. Hearing Locke's words, Pete Parker was shocked. He didn't expect the guy who suddenly appeared in front of him to know his true identity. Seeming to see the surprised face of Pete Parker in the spider uniform, Locke smiled. Don't be surprised, I won't reveal your real identity, but I need to confirm one thing now. Are you sure you want to be my enemy and save this guy? Locke said lightly, with a calm tone. Spider-Man nodded silently and said, He's my friend's father, I can't watch him die. How about the people who were killed by him outside just now? Are they not human, or do you have a preference for your kindness? The corner of Locke's mouth pulled a mocking smile. I didn't mean that. I don't know what to say. Then don't talk about it. If you want to save him, you have to rely on your ability. If you beat me, he will be able to live. If you can't win, he dies. You may die too. You make a choice. Locke twisted his neck slightly, raised his hand to Spider-Man, and hooked his fingers. Don't be too provocative. The reason why Locke did this was very simple. He really wanted to see how far his fighting ability had reached. With the ability of photographic reaction, he also wanted to imitate Spider-Man's fighting skills, and now the opportunity is rare. Hearing Locke's extremely arrogant words, Spider-Man frowned and the man in front of him was behaving strangely. But now he has no time to understand the strange man in front of him. Because at this moment, Locke turned and walked towards Green Goblin again. Time was running out and no one was waiting. Without any unnecessary nonsense, Spider-Man raised his hand and shot several cobwebs at Locke, trying to stop Locke's pace. But this time, Locke's reaction speed was off the charts. He didn't even turn his body around, and even avoided the cobweb he shot directly. Spider-Man has spider telepathy that belongs to him, and Locke, whose body has been extremely strengthened, also has the ability to sense danger. From the very beginning, dodging Green Goblin's sudden attack, Locke has shown the perversion of this ability. It's like a passive skill, usually useless. But when danger strikes, his body does not need to go through the brain, it will automatically respond. This is to avoid the threat to him, and the speed of this reaction is far more anti-Sky than Spider-Man. After all, Spider-Man's physique is no match for him. With a look of shock on his face, Spider-Man, as if in disbelief, shot his cobweb at Locke again. But the result was still the same, easily dodged by Locke. No matter how many times you do it, the result will be the same. Such an attack would have no effect on Locke. Seeming to understand that he was doing nothing, Spider-Man immediately shot 2 cobwebs. But this time, his target was not Locke, but the wall that Green Goblin smashed. The cobweb stuck to the wall was pulled taut by Spider-Man in an instant, and the 2 cobwebs were quickly pulled behind him and tied together. In this way, he made a human slingshot. No hesitation, let go. The powerful elastic force immediately shot him towards Locke, who was not far away. Such a human slingshot is Spider-Man's signature skill. While increasing the movement speed, it can also rely on inertia to enhance its attack power. This trick can be said to be tried and tested. Try 100 spirits. This time he also wanted to rely on this move to take advantage of Locke's hands. However, the imagination is beautiful, but the reality is extremely cruel. The Spider-Man, who burst out by the ejection, came to Locke's back between the lightning and flint. The clenched fist, like a long spear, hit Locke's back with tearing air sounds. If this is a punch, he is confident enough to end this meaningless fight. Then take J.A.R.V.I.S Osborn and finally send him to prison. Yes, what he always wanted in his heart was to send J.A.R.V.I.S Osborn to prison, not to kill him directly. I have to say that his thoughts are very simple, and they are simply cute. But at this moment, an accident happened. Locke, who had been walking towards J.A.R.V.I.S Osborn, suddenly stopped. Then, he turned around, and he turned with his right palm. Suddenly, Spider-Man originally intended to hit Locke's back fist, but it was easily held by Locke's palm. The powerful fist can pierce through the hard wall, but at this moment it can't shake Locke's palm. The body that came flying by the ejection explosion stopped abruptly in the air. A look of disbelief flashed across Pete Parker's face. His punch can explode a maximum of 25 tons of terrifying power, and with the inertia of ejection, it is naturally more terrifying. But, at this moment, he was so easily blocked by the man in front of him. Doesn't it mean that this man's strength is stronger than him, and more than a little bit stronger? But, how can that be? Exclamation before he could wait for him to figure out what was going on. He was still in shock when he saw the man in front of him sneer. He grabbed his arm and threw him violently to the ground. The terrifying impact smashed the ground and he miserably fell down, extremely embarrassed. His body was split open, and a strand of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth unconsciously, staining his headgear red. One move. Exclamation, he couldn't even stop this man's move. Looks like you lost. Locke stood on the broken floor, looked at Spider-Man through the huge amounts of holes, shook his head, domineering sideways. Chapter 33. You will regret it, believe it now. Green Goblin, pawn. Ignoring Spider-Man, who was beaten to the next floor, Locke turned around and continued walking towards Green Goblin. This walk is the leap between life and death, and the unhurried steps seem to be stepping on Green Goblin's heart. Undoubtedly, the unparalleled sense of oppression made Green Goblin feel suffocated, and fear completely devoured him like a beast. I was wrong, and I don't want to do this either. Please give me a chance. Green Goblin knelt down pitifully and begged for mercy, unable to tell the truth. But Locke didn't need to know whether her begging for mercy came from the heart, or whether she was acting on the spot. Because in his eyes, the Green Goblin in front of him is already a dead man. However, some people don't think so. This man is Pete Parker. The Spider-Man downstairs gritted his teeth, struggled to get up, and cobweb shot out again. Sticking to both sides of the hole, he turned into a human slingshot again, and sent himself to the roof. A high-altitude rollover landed, and the signature spider action reappeared. No nonsense, he seemed unwilling to rush to Locke. Looking at the Spider-Man who did not give up, a strange color flashed in Locke's eyes. At a young age, he has the courage to persevere and not be afraid of death. No wonder this guy is the most popular superhero in the Marvel Universe, and worthy of being a good neighbor to people. Locke's heart felt admiration. But admiration cannot be regarded as a gold medal for avoiding death, and what should be done is still to be done. But once he didn't settle the fight quickly, he gave Spider-Man a chance to show his strength. After a few encounters, Spider-Man's fighting skills have been fully understood by Locke, and they have been optimized and improved on this basis. When Locke defeated Spider-Man with Spider-Man's moves and made Spider-Man's signature rollover and landing, Pete Parker, depressed. If it weren't for the different clothes, he would have begun to suspect that the guy in front of him was his duplication. Why is the opponent so familiar with his own fighting skills, and even better than himself? Could it be that in the short battle just now, he had already learned all his fighting moves? But how is this possible? Pete Parker was taken aback by the sudden thought. If this is the case, then this guy in front of him is simply a monster among monsters. How did he know that his guess was correct? Locke, who has the ability to react in photography, copied all of Spider-Man's fighting skills in less than 20 seconds of fighting. Not only copying, but also relying on his super high IQ to draw inferences from others, optimize and improve, and become his own fighting skills. This feeling is like a novel website he read in his previous life. The follower inside relies on his powerful tentacle monster ability to just kill the original. It's the same feeling. For the original author, this feels a bit disgusting and suffocating, but for the followers, it is very refreshing. And now, Locke is a bit like that embarrassing follower. Definitely, Locke would not admit it. For him, this is better than blue. Who are you? With blood on the corners of his mouth, Spider-Man, who was about to faint, asked his question with difficulty. He didn't answer, and he didn't bother to answer. The loser had no value in his eyes. Ignoring Spider-Man lying beside him, Locke turned around and came to Green Goblin. He clenched his palms slowly, aimed at Green Goblin's head, and was about to punch him. He was confident that with this punch, Green Goblin would be killed and immortals could not be saved. But at this moment, Spider-Man climbed up to Green Goblin with difficulty, still begging for Green Goblin without giving up. "Please don't do this." Spider-Man took off his hood, revealing a tender face. "This person is a student of Midtown High School, Pete Parker!" "You'll regret it." Locke's face was complicated, and Pete Parker's perseverance exceeded his imagination. Pete Parker shook his head and said, "I've lost Uncle Ben, and I don't want Harry to lose his father." Before Pete Parker could finish speaking, he felt a chill on his back. I saw that Green Goblin, who was still begging for mercy just now, changed a sinister face and stabbed a dagger into his back. "You!" Pete Parker looked at Beuman Osborne behind him in disbelief. "Pete, thank you, idiot, for begging for me. Almost moved me. However, if you come to kill yourself, if I don't do it, I'm really sorry." J.A.R.V.I.S. Quickly pulling out the dagger that stabbed into Pete Parker's back, Green Goblin rolled over and rolled to the side. At this time, several pumpkin bombs flew out from the demon glider and quickly rolled to Locke's feet. "J.A.R.V.I.S, damn boy, say goodbye to this world." Green Goblin smirked, a face of conspiracy that had succeeded. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion suddenly sounded, and the terrifying shockwave and the incomparably hot flames instantly swallowed Locke. Seeing such a scene, Pete Parker was heartbroken, his face full of remorse, and Green Goblin showed a smug smile. But his smile didn't last for a few seconds. The smoke dissipated, and Locke stood safely in place, typical of smoke without injury. "Pete Parker, I said it, you'll regret it, believe it now." Locke lightly patted the dust on his body, took a step forward, and instantly came to Green Goblin. The huge palm pressed Green Goblin's head and slammed it against the wall. Puff! The sound of the watermelon bursting suddenly sounded. Green Goblin was bleeding from 7 holes, his pupils were dilated, and he was dying. "Nice trick, but on the wrong target. What a pity." The palm released, and Green Goblin fell limply. The classic villain of the Marvel world, here it is, die! Chapter 34. A different Marvel world. Reward 50 points. Ask for flowers and a monthly pass for evalu. Looking at Green Goblin, who was killed by Locke, Pete Parker's face was full of complicated colors. He was a little shaken by the belief that he had held to before. Being tolerant and leading others in exchange, it is not tolerance, but calculation. Is this belief that you hold true to? A big question mark appeared in Pete Parker's young mind, lingering. Seeming to see through what Pete Parker was thinking, Locke showed a meaningful smile. "Why, the faith has been shaken?" Pete Parker looked at Locke with a complicated expression and said nothing. However, from his face, it was obvious that he was still extremely jealous of Locke. After all, this guy in front of him easily killed the existence of Green Goblin. But no matter what, Locke saved his life. His hostility to Locke could not help but disappear, replaced by full of curiosity. He had never heard of Locke in this world before. This guy in front of him is like a meteorite falling from the sky. I don't know the exact origin, but it is extremely bright and eye-catching. If that's shaken, it means that belief isn't for you. Why don't you mess with me? Murder and set fire, do whatever you want, why not do it? Yes, there is a salary, Locke said with a playful smile on his face. Hearing Locke's words, Pete Parker was stunned. What kind of madman ran out of the mental hospital in front of him? Such terrifying words can be said. But when he thinks of Green Goblin's end, he has no doubts that the guy in front of him can really do it. You, the so-called talker, don't say a word, it's really boring. For the sake of your minor, I will spare your life, but next time you may not be as lucky as you are now. So, cherish the life I leave you. After all, Locke ignored Pete Parker, jumped directly from the top floor of the Empire State Building. It disappeared in the blink of an eye. Looking at the back of Locke leaving, Pete fell into contemplation, not knowing what he was thinking. At the same time, the super alloy power armor on Locke was automatically peeled off, and finally turned into a cannonball and flew towards the underground base of Rockefeller Manor. Landed on a quiet street, looked at my watch, and only 10 minutes had passed. In 10 minutes, you will get Green Goblin and Spider-Man done, and by the way, learn Spider-Man's fighting skills. This speed is simply absolute, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is electric and flint. The key is to include the time to walk back and forth. In fact, the real time spent on Green Goblin and Spider-Man is less than 5 minutes. At this moment, a system prompt sounded suddenly in Locke's mind. Congratulations to the host, successfully participating in the Spider-Man vs. Green Goblin event, and rewarding 50 points. Though, there are bonus points, which is a pleasant surprise. Spider-Man vs. Green Goblin, so this is the timeline of the old Spider-Man 1. It seems that this world is not a regular Marvel world, but a multi-universe world in series. It's getting more and more interesting. For the speculation of this world, instead of worrying about the world, Locke became more and more looking forward to it. After all, the chaotic multi-universe world is much more interesting than the regular Marvel world with only one main world. The most important point is that there are more big events in the multi-universe world, which naturally makes it easier for him to collect points. Don't blame Locke for paying so much attention to system points. After all, system points, to him, are money in the pockets of the poor. If the poor want to reach the pinnacle of life, money is naturally essential. In the field of system points, he is really a poor man, and he is still the kind of poor who can no longer be poor. Although the system rewarded him with 50 points, but adding the previous 30 points, it was only 80 points. Host, Locke Technology World, Neil Mechanical Age points 80 points, 20 points away from 100 points. But let alone 20 points short, even if it is 1 point short, he will not be able to start a new round of science fiction world lottery. And according to the rules of the system, drawing will be risky. Even if he accumulated 100 points again for the lottery, it is not necessarily true that you will be able to draw a new technological world, and you may also get a thank you for your patronage. Therefore, the system points thing, you have to continue to work hard to accumulate it, the more the better. After all, whether he can become stronger depends on these points. Shaking his head with a wry smile, there is still a long way to go. Exiting from the system interface, Locke walked directly into a nearby men's clothing store. After all, after leaving the battle armor, he has no clothes on his body again. He has to rush to see Gwen now. Without a top, what a formality. Quickly walked into the nearby men's clothing store, and it didn't take long for Locke in a suit to come out like an English gentleman. With a shallow smile on his face, there is less sunshine, but more extravagance, and the temperament is compelling. The date with Gwen can finally officially begin. Chapter 35 Encountered Natasha Romanoff. The date was broken. Ask for flowers and reviews. In a quiet street, a young and beautiful girl, with her hands behind her back, bowed her head, pacing with a worried look on her face. Excessive tension caused the restless long legs to kick the small stones on the ground. The stone rolled quickly along the road, making a gurgling sound, and finally stopped in front of an enchanting black figure. The black figure raised his feet. The high heels on the beautiful feet gently stepped on the small stone, and a pair of soul-sucking winks fell on the girl Pieta. The charming sound of high-heeled shoes colliding with the ground kept ringing, entering the girl's ears. She looked up curiously, and the black figure had come to her. "Miss Gwen Stacy, isn't it?" A gentle, inquiring voice came from the mouth of the woman in front of him. "Who are you?" Gwen looked curiously at the enchanting woman who suddenly appeared in front of her, her beautiful eyes full of vigilance. As the daughter of New York City Police Chief George Stacy, his vigilance is not unusually high. Don't get me wrong, I'm a friend of your father, George Stacy. I've heard him mention you a lot, and I've seen you before. It happened to happen today, so I came up to say hello. Roar. The woman smiled and explained calmly. Hearing what she said, Gwen's expression relaxed a little and showed a smile. Hello, what's your name? Natasha Romanoff, your father's former colleague. We went on a mission together. But it's not in a system anymore. By the way, are you alone so late? The woman smiled and asked casually. If Locke heard the name here at this moment, he would know who the enchanting woman was in front of him. This guy is not a level 8 agent of SHIELD. Who else could Black Widow be? Under the order of Nick Fury, she has been secretly contacting the classmates and teachers of Rockefeller, the eldest son of the Rockefeller family. In the past few days, she did get some private information about Locke, and the little secret between Gwen and Locke was also discovered through her investigation. Therefore, she felt that it was necessary for her to get in touch with the sweet daughter of her former colleague. Yes, she wasn't lying, he really knew NYPD Commissioner George Stacy. When they were on a mission, the two of them worked together. Therefore, he said that, and there is no problem. Gwen nodded, then shook his head again, and said, I'm waiting for my friend. I see, but it's very dangerous here at night. You have to be careful. This is for you. As Natasha Romanoff spoke, she took a small stick from behind her and handed it to Gwen. Looking at the little roller handed over, Gwen's face was full of curiosity. This is mini electric baton. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't think I need it very much. Gwen said speechlessly. I ran into my father's old friend on the road, and then the other party gave him an electric baton? What kind of operation is this? She will be drunk. Sure enough, the guy who made friends with his father, an old antique, was not a normal person. When you meet criminals, you know that this thing is still very helpful to you. Regardless of its small size, it has a lot of energy. Just one click is enough to knock down a cow. Natasha Romanoff didn't withdraw, but rang the electric baton. Immediately, a purple electric current appeared, and the sound of crackling electric current was incessant. Oh cock, I want it, thanks. Gwen was afraid to back off, showing an embarrassed smile, and hurriedly agreed to accept it. She felt that if she didn't accept it, the woman in front of her would slap this thing on her body, so she should accept it first. When you go home, you can hand it over to your father, and you can go back. He took the initiative to open his satchel, took the electric baton, and put it in. Seeing this, Natasha Romanoff had a mysterious smile on her face, and flicked her fingers when passing the electric baton. A black metal of file size like mouse droppings fell into Gwen's satchel unknowingly. After all this, Natasha Romanoff had a triumphant smile on her face. I'm sure you'll love it in the future, Natasha Romanoff said with a half-smile. He. Thank you, I hope so. Gwen laughed dryly, not knowing how to answer Natasha Romanoff's words. And Natasha Romanoff saw that the purpose of this trip was achieved, smiled and said goodbye to Gwen, and the two met for only 2 minutes. Watching Natasha Romanoff leave, Gwen looked stunned. What a strange woman, Gwen said, shaking his head and smiling. As everyone knows, although the time between the two of them meeting was short, all this was clearly seen by Locke, who was hiding in the dark. A few minutes after taking Natasha Romanoff away, Locke adjusted his suit and walked out with a gentle smile on his face. Gwen, I'm back. Locke smiled when he came to Gwen. Looking at the tall Locke, Gwen's fawn rammed around, her face was crimson, and her unbearable love made her jump up and hug him tightly. Locke worked hard, as if to melt Gwen into his body. Feeling the strong embrace, Gwen Roar couldn't help breathing. Although he was underage, his tall body had a strange reaction. It's too tight, relax, Gwen said with a blushing face, looking at Locke with beautiful eyes, and there were many questions to ask in his heart. But before she could speak, Locke raised his hand and pressed it gently. Let's find a place to sit and talk slowly. Yeah. Nodding obediently, Gwen was led away by Locke's warm big hands. At this moment, not far away, in a luxury sports car, a beautiful woman looked at Locke's leaving back with a smile. It turned out to be on a date. It's so sweet. The person who spoke was none other than Selena. Chapter 36 Don&amp #039T Believe it. You can touch it. Please ask for some data. Trouble. Today is... Where are you taking me? Gwen looked curiously at Locke, who was holding her hand. Locke smiled mysteriously and said, "Just follow me. It must be a good place you haven't been to before." It didn't take long for Locke to lead Gwen into a dark alley. At the end of the alley, there was a small door with a bright light. At the door, there were two strong men in black suits holding the handle, with a fierce look on their faces. Seeing this, Gwen looked worried, took Locke's hand, and stopped moving forward. "Where are you taking me? This place is terrible, let's go back quickly." Gwen looked at Locke worriedly and said. Locke smiled, raised his hand to caress Gwen's pretty face, and gently leaned on his earlobe and said, "Sweetheart, don't worry, no one can hurt you with me." After all, he took Gwen to move forward, while Gwen was still immersed in Locke's sweetheart and couldn't extricate himself. He actually called himself sweetheart. Exclamation, it's so sweet, but it's too mushy. This guy is getting worse and worse. But with Locke's words, she didn't say anything and followed him silently. Soon, the two came to the brightly lit door. Seeing Locke, the two strong men immediately raised their hands to block in front of them with cold faces. "What are you doing? You don't need to ask. It's definitely fun. Provide identity information. Do you want that kind of thing? Or is this thing more real?" Locke smiled, took out a stack of banknotes from his pocket and handed it to the strong man. Looking at the banknotes in front of them, the faces of the two strong men immediately showed excitement. Please, if you need to call us, we will make you satisfied." After taking the banknotes, the two strong men looked at Locke flatteringly and said. Attitude took a 360-degree turn. Sure enough, the banknote ability is invincible. Not only can defeat the enemy, but also make it voluntarily submit. "Good job." Patting a strong man on the shoulder, Locke said old-fashioned. After all, he pulled Gwen and swaggered in. "Locke, we can't come to this kind of place." Gwen gently tugged at Locke and said softly, "As the daughter of the police chief, she still knows these places. This is a place that is not suitable for children, and they can't be put in at this age. They are doing this now, which is clearly against the law." But seeing Locke's calm face beside her, she felt a lot more at ease. The rebelliousness of the adolescent girl also made her not reject Locke's behavior, and even had the thrill of tasting the forbidden fruit for the first time. Speaking of the forbidden fruit, her beautiful eyes turned to look at Locke. His handsome face fascinated him, and he didn't know when the other forbidden fruit would be eaten. Entering the gate and going down the stairs, the noise soon drowned them out. The deafening roar shout mingled with the music, causing Gwen to frown. Immediately afterwards, a huge stage was revealed in front of the two of them. Several girls with explosive figures are dancing to the music. The swaying figure, unusually hot, surging. Exclamation, "Don't look at it." Looking at such a scene, Gwen's face immediately turned red. He raised his hand and tried to cover Locke's eyes, but it was too late, and Locke could see clearly. "It's all said, don't look at it," Gwen said with a blushing face. Hee, okay, I don't watch it, I just watch you, okay? Well, compared to them, although you are not so surging. But it's well proportioned and perfectly proportioned, and your pretty face is beyond their reach. Locke held Gwen's pretty face in both hands, and said while looking at her body. Hearing what he said, Gwen wanted to find a place to get in. "What are you talking about? You're still commenting on me. I'll beat you up," Gwen said with a hot face. Saying that, he pinched at Locke's waist, and the pained Locke grinned. "Sweetheart, I was wrong. Locke begged for mercy and smiled. The reason why I say that is just to tell you that compared with those vulgar fans, I only see you in my eyes, and you are the most beautiful. I don't believe it. A man's mouth, a liar. Don't believe it? If you don't believe me, you can touch me to see if there is no response. Locke said teasingly. Touch what? Gwen was stunned, and then reacted immediately. Her already blushing pretty face seemed to be on fire, flushed. Exclamation roll. But as soon as she finished speaking, she was pulled into her arms by Locke. Okay, just kidding you. Since you're at the speakeasy, let's have a drink with me. Locke said with a smile. 2 glasses of whiskey. Locke said, raising his hand and throwing a bannote on the bar. This is an underground dance hall, not a simple dance hall, but a very adult kind. The reason why he brought Gwen here is not because he likes this kind of place. But this kind of place is noisy and convenient for him to deal with some special things. Like what Natasha Romanoff put in the Gwen bag. Chapter 37 Adult Bar Dating. It&amp #039s okay. Anti-stalking is successful. Stalker, die. Although Natasha Romanoff acted fast, the excuses were almost perfect. But still could not escape Locke's eyes. The mini stun stick and the rat poop stuffed into Gwen's bag were not ordinary things. It is a high-tech product of SHIELD. It is a one-stop agent for location tracking, audio recording, and video recording. It wasn't that Locke didn't know that SHIELD had been undercover investigating their Rockefeller family. But he didn't expect that the other party would focus on him, who should not be noticed. After all, he is the eldest son of the 14-year-old Rockefeller family, just a junior high school student who doesn't understand the world. Whoever SHIELD investigates shouldn't surreptitiously investigate him. But now, the other party has done so. I have to say, the level of professionalism of the damned agents of SHIELD is really not covered. Do not let go of any doubtful object. This is very in line with the old fox's style of the black marinated egg. But Locke isn't a vegetarian either. Like dark investigation, like playing cat and mouse games. Well, he also likes to play. I just don't know who is the mouse and who is the cat in the end. 2 clear glasses of whiskey were pushed in front of Locke and Gwen. Looking at the whiskey in front of him, Gwen's face was a little complicated. He always felt that the little boyfriend Locke around him had changed a lot. He used to be a good student in the school. Good grades, good family background, handsome. At a young age, he was already the school grass of their school, and he was the dream god in the eyes of many young girls. Although she is not a nympho, she is also very fond of Locke. So, they can come together. Development appears in this pure love. But since the unfortunate accident of Locke's father, Locke has changed. Become no longer as well-behaved, so obedient as before. He even dropped out. The reason why she sent a text message to Locke to meet today was to persuade Locke to continue his studies at school. But she hasn't started persuading yet. The other party actually took her into this adult speakeasy. On a date, take your girlfriend to an adult bar for a strip dance. Are you serious? I didn't mean to blame Locke. It just made her feel that Locke was really stimulated. And the excitement is not small. Come and have a drink with me. He picked up the glass and handed it to Gwen. But at this moment, with a flick of his finger, half of the whiskey in his hand was accidentally spilled on Gwen's jeans. Sorry. Locke immediately wiped away with apologetic expression. Gwen didn't mean to blame Locke at all and smiled slightly. It's okay, I'll go to the bathroom and deal with it. Help me get the bag. Gwen handed the bag to Locke, and Locke nodded with a smile. A hint of cunning flashed in his eyes. Looking at Gwen walking to the bathroom, Locke quickly took out the mini electric baton and small black particles in the other party's bag. Holding it in his hand, the special device equipped on his hand scanned it in an instant. The data was uploaded successfully, and the results have been sent back to the base for analysis. Far in the underground base of the Rockefeller family, an electronic synthesis sound full of technology sounded. In the data analysis, the analysis is completed, the positioning tracker, the ultra mini green sounder. The signal source is being cracked, the cracking is successful, the reverse tracking has been completed, and the positioning is successful. With one after another electronic sound rang in Locke's ears. Soon, a flash point appeared on the watch interface on Locke's hand. The flash point is the position of the source of the anti-tracking signal. And this location is in the bar where he is. The blip plus flashes quickly, which indicates that he is very close to the source of the signal. Immediately, Locke's eyes moved to not far away, a man with a slightly petite figure. Locke looked at the man coldly, and the man also found that Locke was staring at him at this time. Locke got up, sneered, and walked away. Immediately, a trace of panic flashed in the man's eyes, then he pretended to answer the phone and started to run away from the bar. Locke smiled coldly and said to himself, "It seems that someone has come to the door without knowing how to live or die. That being the case, wouldn't it be a pity if I didn't play with you?" After all, he threw the bag and some banknotes in front of the bartender. "Watch what's good, take care of my female companion, I'll go back when I go. If something goes wrong with her, you'll be the first to die." Locke looked at the bartender with cold eyes and said, a terrifying momentum suddenly erupted. The bartender immediately shook his legs, shook his head, and nodded again and again. "Don't worry, boss, this is our site, absolutely safe." Nodding, Locke quickly followed the man and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the dark alley, a man ran wild in horror. "Report, report, the other party found me. The other party found me, save me." While speaking to the communicator in his hand, the man looked behind him in horror. Soon, a tall figure walked out from the corner of the alley and appeared in his sight. Unparalleled fear enveloped him, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Before he could react, the figure came quickly. Then, the silver light flashed, and under the dim light, the shadow on the wall lost its head. "It's a miserable sale. Today's data is too sluggish. Please give me some motivation. I'm bursting!" Exclamation. Chapter 38 Incarnate as a witch to kill God. Miss 2B. Ask for a flower evaluation. Hydra's secret base. Miss 2B with short silver hair pulled out the long knife in her hand from the body of the last Hydra member. On his body, as before, there was no blood on his body. "Is this over? Miss Ben hasn't killed enough yet." Miss 2B pulled up a charming smile at the corner of her mouth. "I successfully completed the task again. The young master should reward me again tonight. I have to go back early to prepare. Are you going to be a tutor or a nurse today? Or what other characters and scenes? Such as the widow who is wet in the rain? Heck, I'm really looking forward to it." Miss 2B said to herself, her beautiful eyes full of affection. If Locke, the creator, is here at this moment, it is estimated that it will be a headache again. The emotional system of the general-purpose combat robot he built is self-generated. Yes, this was developed on purpose by Locke. Just like humans, things like character are brought out of the womb. As the creator, Locke also hopes that the robot he built will combine his own data to generate his own emotional system. But he didn't expect that the emotional system generated by Miss 2B turned out to be an old driver, and this is no one anymore. Gently flicking the long sword in his hand, the red blood dripped down the edge of the sword without hanging the cup at all. "King!" The long sword trembled, making a metallic buzzing sound, and automatically returned to Miss 2B's back. "Bah! Bah!" The high heels tapped the ground lightly, making a crisp sound. The originally bustling Hydra building was silent at the moment, so it could be heard very clearly. In 10 minutes, Miss 2B blood-washed the entire Hydra base. At this moment, the huge Hydra base is full of corpses. Looking at the answer sheet she handed in, Miss 2B looked satisfied. "Is this supposed to be overdone?" Exclamation. "You have to get one more reward when you go back." Miss 2B smiled and thought so. Then her legs were slightly bent, and the anti-gravity wings behind her were about to flap to take her out of here. Then, go back to take a good bath and wait for the creator's reward. However, at this moment, the roar of the machines came from outside, and there was a huge warning sound along with it. Listen to the people inside, you are already surrounded. Put down your weapons immediately and surrender, otherwise, you will be at your own risk. As the most difficult force in the Marvel world, the Hydra organization can even penetrate into the SHIELD. Its strength can be imagined. If there is such a big movement happening here at the moment, if they don't even notice it, they will be very sorry for their reputation. But the Hydra members of this base are all dead. The people who are here now are the Hydra members who infiltrated SHIELD. Definitely, in the eyes of a group of SHIELD agents, they are all their colleagues and their own good brothers. Yes, it was the people from SHIELD who appeared outside at the moment and surrounded Miss 2B. Just 3 minutes ago, SHIELD received a strange call. The content of the call was shocking, involving the slaughter of the Jinbing building and the news of Pierce's death. At the moment of receiving the news, Nick Fury was shocked and attached great importance to it, and immediately sent someone to surround the entire building. Because at the moment, he didn't even know the real identity of the building in front of him. It was actually one of the secret bases of the Hydra organization. I don't know that his longtime friend Pierce is actually one of the leaders of the Hydra organization. In his opinion, the place where Miss 2B massacred at this moment was an ordinary commercial building, and the people who were killed inside were ordinary people. And such a thing cannot be allowed. The impact of this on society is huge amounts of, and may even cause panic among the public. The SHIELD is a special unit of the International Security Council dedicated to dealing with all kinds of bizarre events. It is his responsibility to shoulder this responsibility and deal with this matter. The warning sound of threats continued to come from the loudspeaker outside, which sounded very strange. It gives the illusion of watching a Hong Kong Island movie. On the other hand, Miss 2B was indifferent and didn't take it to heart at all. With an anti-gravity flight device, if she wants to leave here, she can easily do it. But listening to the threatening words that kept ringing outside, a coldness appeared on her face. The corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, and there was a terrifying killing intent flowing in the beautiful eyes hidden under the black blindfold. Young Master said that all those who block this lady from carrying out her mission can be killed. If I also deal with the group of noisy guys outside, will it be counted as overfulfilling the task again? That way, I'll be able to get 3 rewards. 3 times. Very nice. Miss 2B snapped her fingers and said expectantly. Then, he tightly grasped the 2-handed epi behind his back. What is laying down the weapon? Miss Ben, I only know, kill without mercy. After saying that, the wings behind Miss 2B's back flicked violently, and they turned into afterimages and flew out. In an instant, it appeared in front of a group of SHIELD agents. Suspended and stood like a god. This god is extraordinary, it is a witch-killing god. Exclamation. Chapter 39 It&amp #039s just a group of ants. If you kill it, you will kill it. What can you do to? Looking at Miss 2B who appeared in front of them at a speed invisible to the naked eye. The faces of a group of SHIELD agents were full of amazement and shock, because a group of them have never seen such a beautiful and sassy woman. The devil's figure, Angel's face, is simply tailor-made for the woman in front of him. In addition, 2B is standing in the air at the moment, and the pair of black mechanical wings behind her are slowly fanning, which adds a sense of mystery to her. Like a witch in hell and like an angel who came to the world. Both good and evil, 2 completely different temperaments are integrated into one person. This is a very wonderful feeling, but I have to say, it is even more eye-catching. Miss 2B looked coldly at the man who had been shouting at the Hydra building. It was a middle-aged fat man with a big belly. It looks extremely greasy, and it is the image of a man that Miss 2B does not like. In her eyes, all men should look like her creator. Handsome, tall and clean. If you don't meet this standard, you will endanger the society, damn it. Apparently none of you here got there, so damn them all. As for the man with the big belly, who kept shouting at her and letting her surrender without a hitch, he should be cut with 1,000 swords. Noisy. Without any unnecessary nonsense, Miss 2B's consciousness moved. The anti-gravity drone hovering beside her blasted out a red laser. Immediately, the pot-blood body was cut into 2 pieces on the spot. Blood poured out like a fountain, staining the ground under his feet scarlet. Unusually bloody and terrifying, Rao is a well-informed super agent and his scalp is numb. Unexpectedly, this beautiful-looking woman turned out to be a female death god. Surrender. It's just you, too? Miss 2B muttered to herself, not paying any attention to the SHIELD in front of her. The anti-gravity drone suspended beside it began to clean up, and a series of lasers shot out. Every time a laser is fired, an agent's body is penetrated or cut off. The speed is as fast as chopping melons and vegetables, and no one present resists ability. In the eyes of Miss 2B, these guys in front of them are like ants, and they can be pinched by raising their hands. And when you pinch the ants, will pity and sympathy appear? Obviously, as long as it is not a living Buddha in the world, it is impossible. It's just an ant, and if it dies, it will die. All living beings have never lacked ants. In terms of biodiversity, that's all. So, if you kill it, you will kill it. What can you do to me? Looking at the scene like purgatory on earth, everyone's heart is ashes, and their faces are full of despair. His legs were uncontrollably weak, and the hand of the officer in charge of this operation, holding the cigarette butt, trembled uncontrollably. The ash fell, and the red-hot cigarette butt was about to burn his hand, but he didn't feel it. Armored vehicles, tanks, what are you waiting for? Fire quickly, full fire coverage. The person in charge staggered backwards and hid behind a tank, shouting and giving orders. Following the order, the surviving agents and all the armed equipment began to lash out at Miss 2B. Bullets, cannonballs, sonic attacks, fire attacks, and more. All available weapons were used. What kind of accuracy, what kind of cooperation to fight, can't care so much at this moment. Now they only have one request, and that is to suppress the firepower and completely kill the female devil in front of them. Yes, at this moment, the glamorous Miss 2B has become the most terrifying devil in their hearts. His handsome skin was just a disguise for terror incarnate, but what they didn't expect at all was that their armed firepower didn't even touch Miss 2B's hair. An invisible energy barrier suddenly appeared, blocking Miss 2B in front of her, giving her a 360-degree all-round protection. In this way, all the bullets were blocked by the energy barrier in front of him, and finally fell to the ground. Ding, ding, ding. The sound of bullets falling to the ground seemed so harsh. Boom. The sound of artillery fire continued to sound, but all of them were blocked from the energy barrier in front of Miss 2B. The threat to Miss 2B is almost negligible. The only effect was that the shells left deep pits on the ground. However, Miss 2B's feet did not touch the ground at all, and the whole person was standing in the air. So, not even that small impact. Everyone was stunned to see such a scene. Their faces were full of incredible. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that there was such a terrible guy in this world. Not afraid of any artillery attack, no emotion at all, treating them like ants. Is this still human? This is just like a killing machine. Just when they were shocked, Miss 2B was driven by the anti-gravity flight device behind her. In an instant, it came to a tank. She held a sword in both hands. Without the slightest hesitation, she slashed out with one sword. Exclamation! A silver light flashed, and the tough tank, which was able to block the attack of the shells, was divided into 2. Miss 2B's figure passed through several tanks and armored vehicles. Suddenly, there were endless explosions, and all the weapons and equipment turned into rubble. And the surrounding SHIELD agents are all destroyed. Exclamation. Seeing such a terrifying scene, the command room of the SHIELD secret base fell into silence. Miss 2B quickly retracted her sword, her long skirt fluttered in the breeze, but her face with an eye patch was slowly facing the camera of the SHIELD surveillance drone. The corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, and the anti-gravity drone beside him flew out with a laser. Immediately, the large screen in the SHIELD command room fell into darkness. And together in the dark, and Nick Fury's face. Ask for some flowers and comments. Monthly passes. Your data support will give me full motivation. I am very grateful. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.